the bicycle thief was f***ing genius. Post-World War II Italy found itself in some deep duty booty, traumatized, poverty-stricken, and political turmoil at the ass. Now this changed the way that filmmakers made films. They now relied on non-actors, that is, people who are not actors, duh, real-world locations, documentary footage, and large amounts of randos. I mean, extras. They made films that told intimate stories about the harshness of life. Now this is what you call neo-realism. Now I know what you're thinking. What the f*** is neo-realism? Well, first, I must beg the question. What the f*** is realism? Let's start there. Alexa! What the f*** is realism?
Realism is the attitude or practice of accepting a situation as it is and being prepared to deal with it accordingly.
I think Alexa might have a cold.
It is laryngitis, inflammation of the larynx or voice box. In most cases, it gets better without treatment.
Alexa, quit your yapping. So, if realism is media that represents a person, thingamajig a situation accurately, in a way that is true to life, then what does Neo add on? No, not the fictional character and main protagonist to the Matrix franchise played by Keanu Reeves. Neo. No. You see, Neo means new, or revived version of. And a couple of French guys in the 1850s already coined the term realism. These French guys rejected romanticism. Probably because they couldn't get dates to promenade or something. So, we had to call what the Italians was doing a century later neo-realism. And a decade after that, a couple of British guys coined the term kitchen sink realism. Whatever the f*** that means. But neo-realism wasn't mushy-gushy, I love you like a f***ing flower loves sun. But it did use emotion in a large way to portray the reality of life in post-war Italy. Romanticists were reacting to the Industrial Revolution, and therefore saw the realities of life as gushy-gushy love. I mean, steam engines, am I right? Steamy. Neo-realists, on the other hand, were reacting to World War II, where the newest industrial technology was used to kill 85 million people. I mean, they sent their own corrupt leader, Mussolini, aka Sawdust Caesar, aka Mr. Bombastic Brachot, to the old public firing squad, and hung him up by his heels naked. Heard that's a good way to cure hiccups. They called this post-Mussolini, post-Nazi era the Italian Spring. Anyway, neorealism was a manifestation of cultural change and progress during that spring. Kinda like when you hear birds chirping, and the flowers are a-bloomin' in May after some storm-force monsoons came true in April. But it wasn't all flowers and sunshine. Italy's main film studio, Cinecittà Cinema City Studios, which was founded by Mussolini, and in massive, was heavily damaged. I mean, this place was huge. The largest one in Europe still to this day. Fellini, Rossellini, Visconti, Leone, Bertolucci, Coppola, Scorsese, and Mel Gibson have all worked at Cinema City. Whilst Cinecittà Studios looked like this, filmmakers were forced to make them film movies in the real world instead. And they weren't happy films, but they were good films. Good films that changed the look, production methods, narratives, tone, and style of international film for the past 80 years. Now, some pasta fazool, Giulio Andreotti, said that neorealism was, quote-unquote, dirty laundry that shouldn't be washed and hung to dry in the open. But these directors didn't give a shit. Their laundry was stained in blood and excrement from World War II. Anyway, enough about the context, am I right? So this movie follows the life of Antonio Ricci, a poor man in 1948 Rome. Lamberto Madriani played Ricci, who is not a trained actor, but a steelworker. He gave a hell of a performance. He also brought his actual son, Enzo, to play his son in the movie Bruno. He also gave a hell of a performance at age 9. Here's what Enzo looks like now at 79. He aged beautifully. Anyway, Antonio Ricci finally finds work biking and hanging posters. It was a measly outdoor guerrilla marketing job, but that was a good job. I mean, sheesh. I'd get paid to ride around and put posters up. I'd do that anyway, and I never get paid. Starting to feel like this Ricci guy has it pretty good, huh? Right? Wrong. Some Wyoming sneaks up on him and steals his goddamn bike. I mean, he had to trade in sheets to get this bike, which we'll get to later. He fished the coins out of every motherfucking couch, love seat, and futon he had to get this bike. So what the f*** is he supposed to do now? Without more sheets, he ain't get another bike. Without a bike, he ain't got no job. Without a job, what's Bruno supposed to eat? So, he takes Bruno around Rome to find this bicycle thief. That's the name of the movie. The movie title, Ladri di Bicicletta, can also translate to The Bicycle Thieves, implying a couple to three things. The man that steals his bike doesn't act alone. He has another thief with him, as well as a couple to three other YOs to disassemble or hide the bike. It's a conspiracy. Also, when Ricci himself attempts to steal a bike, he becomes yet another bike thief. The state of Rome in 1948 pushes a man to the point where he becomes the very thing that made his life worse, passing on the despair to others in order to make your own life better. Some Italian shit. Now, Rome is usually seen as like a beautiful place to go see. I mean, when in Rome, am I right? No. In this movie, it's a harsh, crowded, strange, unsettling place. De Sica gives you a tour of the city and shows you in a very simple way, through a particular story, how an entire society works. This movie, and most neorealist movies, emphasize that this story is but a drop in the ocean of other narratives. The best example of this is when Ricci takes his sheets to trade in for money to buy a bicycle. The scene ends with another man trading in his and shows Ricci in line with many others, also trading in their. When the clerk gets Ricci's sheets, he takes them to this enormous wall of sheets, and we wait. As he climbs the ladder, places Ricci's narrative into the visual wall of narratives, all happening within Rome at the same time. The story is simple, but very powerful. A man that needs a job. Relatable. My favorite scene is when Ricci gives up hope on finding his bicicletta and rants to Bruno about how life sucks. Then he says, "You know what, kid? Let's get drunk together and eat some fucking pizza. Now that's some family fun." This movie is sad, but it doesn't leave you depressed or despaired. Instead, it kind of leaves you fulfilled. Even though Antonio's lost everything, he still holds on to his humanity and family. Life is suffering. Once you realize that, get drunk with your 9-year-old and eat some fucking pizza. I mean, when in Rome, am I right, Romanticism, realism, and neorealism were all reactions to a sudden exponential increase in technology. They're each attempts to rationalize nature during a sort of widespread ego death brought on by some new tech radically changing the way humans perceive the world. We saw a political revolution, and we made this. We saw a steam engine go zoom zoom, and we made this. We saw nuclear bombs, and we made this. Each had a significant and complex effect on perception of the world. Each movement emphasized intense emotion as an authentic source of aesthetic experience. Apprehension, horror, terror, awe, beauty, and most importantly, sublimity. Hey Alexa, go ask Jeff Bezos what sublimity is.
Sublimity is when something is sublime. It transcends greatness or beauty for the observer. The Latin root sublimis means uplifted, exalted, or high.
Whoa, Alexa. This is a family program. That's strike one. You're on thin ice. Romanticists often curated media that depicted sublimity occurring, like one of my favorite paintings of all time, Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog by Caspar David Friedrich. Good shit, Caspar. Realists often curated media that depicted beauty not as a moment, but as a force of truth, a sort of cultural celebration to uphold structures of the past for their inherent value to the intangible human soul. Instead of racing towards the future, realists paused during the influx of this new technology and looked at the values of life. Neo-realists depicted sublimity being chased, but inevitably only attained in brief moments of ignorance, like when Ricci gets drunk with his 9-year-old. Aziz Ansari remade this film for an episode of Master of None called iPhone. Perhaps then, Master of None is reacting to smartphones and social media, a theme throughout the series. A thief even steals Aziz's iPhone. I mean, if someone stole his bike, he could just call an Uber on his iPhone. But you can't tweet on your bike, can you? No. Aziz curates media that both shows sublimity in brief moments of ignorance and as it is actually happening for real. A sort of romantic post-neorealistic modernity. Ugh, I gotta go wash my mouth out with soap. Yeah, just watch the side-by-side of Master of None and Bicycle Thieves. Yeah, I said thieves, because we've established there's a couple 2-3 thieves.